Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to the Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. We have made it through the weekend. We're starting on another week, and this is Mailbag. Your questions, your show. Tonight we are flying solo. We're looking for a more interactive experience, so it's going to be me versus you, or perhaps me and you in collaboration in the chat box, starting with our new format, This or That. I'm actually going to give you guys a crack at telling me which of our two watches or candidates you prefer. First things first, start your week off right tonight with watch surfing on thewatchbox.com. Newer, faster, more fun, easier to sort and find the watch you want. It's not watch you want, it's the Watchbox. Same great folks behind the scenes, and you see a lot of my videos for the watches on our site, so you get to watch and then decide. So, wrist shot for tonight. Okay, I'm still wearing the Duomet. It's the white gold 42mm, limited edition of 200 pieces from 2010. This was my dream watch for like ever, and I'm not sure if it's the fact that it has an incredibly charismatic complication or the fact that it seems to combine some of the traits of two brands I love. It's a Jaeger LeCoultre that looks like it's built in the fashion of a Longa. You can't really beat that, can you? So that's my Duomet chronograph with foudroyant 1/6 of a second hand, and yep, there are a total of 8 hands on that dial. Now, I will say, I want to emphasize once more, there is no better place than thewatchbox.com to buy, sell, or trade. So even if you're not in the mood to buy a new watch, you're biding your time, you can still trade the one you're not wearing. My friend Josh, my friend Jason, both of whom will soon have their own show on this channel, will be happy to help you out. More on that in a moment. Okay, This or That, your edition. Let's see, who is first tonight? Ben S., beating the usual crowd. Welcome aboard. Russell996, Simon Fan, Matt Foster, Mr. Mutton Hollow, Andrew. I can see Winston Baby, Morimo11, Watch Doctor, John Sy joining in. Good to see some clients in the house tonight. All right. This is how we're doing This or That tonight. First of all, it's the Your Turn edition, and the theme is sports watch capability and complication for Rolex Daytona money. So figure about $12,000 to $12,500 or a Rolex Daytona. I'm going to tell you what the options are. Instead of having Jason or Josh pick, I'm going to hear what you guys in the live chat box prefer. So here goes. Tonight, the most complication for your sports watch money for around $12,000, Zenith Pilot Doublematic, one of my favorites, and a watch I've actually purchased, the Jaeger LeCoultre Master Compressor Extreme World Alarm. Okay, a lot to pack into these big cases, admittedly, but let's start with the Zenith. This one came out in 2012, Zenith Pilot Doublematic. 45mm by about 15.5mm thick, 53 lug to lug. I can wear it. It easily fits my small wrist. So here's proof that though this is a big watch at 45mm, it fits just fine if your wrist is 15 or 16 centimeters in circumference. In fact, it looks great, and it makes it easier to read because there's a lot of complication packed into that dial. Now, a Pilot World Time display sets the tone. Your 24 principal time zones represented by 24 reference cities. The index is at 12 o'clock. The watch also features an El Primero chronograph, so automatic winding, 50-hour power reserve, and that famed 10 beat per second high rate. It also features an alarm function with on and off. So you can see both the on and off indicator and the actuator. But we're not done. It features an alarm power reserve that actually changes color from green to red, and a grand date. And yes, the grand date features a quick set. Are we done? Not quite, because this one features a display caseback for the 439-part automatic El Primero column wheel chronograph caliber 4046. Special note, the JLC caseback is solid. As you can see, 50 meters water resistant, so this is one for fly guys, not necessarily those who want to get wet and wild. But that's a lot for $12,000. Now, the alternative is the JLC Master Compressor Extreme World Alarm. Full disclosure, I own the slick 2009 Tides of Time edition that's actually going to be the thumbnail for this episode once it posts recorded. That one, 350 pieces, is a stunner. But all versions are 46.3 millimeters in diameter, not including their many appurtenances. 16.5 millimeters thick, so about a millimeter more than the Zenith, and 54.5 lug to lug. So again, a bit more flared out and over the wrist, but it still wears well on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. Often shipped with both leather and rubber straps, plus a full clasp. This one does come with a bit more standard equipment in the box than the Zenith. An elusive full bracelet exists. So if you think a sports watch has got to be paired with a bracelet, not only does it have one, but it's a magnificent quadruple trigger double deployant with twin micro adjusts. Okay, world time dial with 24 time zones. The red crown at 10 o'clock sets the world time, and the rocker that acts as a shoulder for that crown is the on-off function, because this watch also features, in addition to its world time dial, a double digital alarm. So there are two concentric discs. One sets the hour, one sets the watch to the minute. This is one of the most precise setting systems I've ever encountered for an alarm. And yes, if you get good with it, you can hit 1 to 2 minutes in terms of accuracy. This is well done. It's also quite attractive. Lacks the outright complication to vanquish the Zenith, which is to say the Zenith has a few more movement features, but this watch has some non-movement features, like the quick release lugs. What's so good about these? Well, they're pull tabs, and they work with standard 22 millimeter spacing straps and spring bars, which is to say you can use any strap that's 22 millimeters on this watch. You don't need an IWC Aquatime or Cartier Santos or Cartier Roadster style proprietary strap. It works with anything, and it's a quick release. There's a shock absorbing double case structure, so there is a steel outer case, titanium inner case separated by shock absorbers, and this is most visible in profile, where you can see the different colorations and finishes of the two metals. Okay, finally, patented JLC compressor crowns, 1/2 turn, and you have 100 meters water resistance. 1/2 turn, and you've unlocked the setting and winding features of the watch. You know which one I would buy, but let me qualify this. If it were not for the blue accented tides of time that I own, I would probably take the Zenith Doublematic, because that is a ton of watch for the money. Okay, real quick, guys. Let's go to the this or that jury. You are the ultimate deciders tonight. Which one do you pick? Interesting comments coming through. Okay, JLC all day from Morimo 11. Also, I can see right here, too busy of a dial from Watch Yoda. I think he's saying the JLC has a little bit too much going on dial side. Both of them are busy, says Andrew ST12. He says both too busy, but the Zenith seems more interesting. I'll also say the Zenith is a lot more balanced, and as a watch, it's less bombastic. Every version of this JLC, whether it's the crazy yellow Valentino Rossi edition with his number on the dial, or even the standard version you see here, has a lot of color. Combine that with the size and the weird shape, it doesn't wear well with everything. This is not an all occasions watch. Also important, Philip Sebastian saying Zenith just because the pano date. That's right. The big date is supremely practical. Even in that distance shot right there, you can see it. It makes the information easily accessible. And that's on a dial that is absolutely jam-packed with features. Kiki Fry saying a lot of stuff happening on that watch. That's a fact, but Matt Foster, kind of a man after my own heart, saying the JLC. I can see True Lie is joining us from Toronto. He didn't get a notification for this going live. I'm not sure why that happened, but my apologies. Whereas Matt Foster is saying, I like the Dayfi 21. Interesting news about the Zenith Dayfi 21. A couple of changes since the watch was first advertised. I'm told that the advertised nanotube carbon hairspring is actually gone from the watch. So there have been some changes to the specification. If you've got an order in or you're thinking of buying the watch, some of the tech has been pegged back. On the plus side, one of the unadvertised features of the watch, which is hacking seconds, has been confirmed. Also, a little bit more information about the Foudroyant second escapement. It actually features a conventional metal and stone locking pallet, not the silicon on silicon system used for the main escapement. All right, Joe S. saying, I'll take the Zenith. Sorry, Tim, but for $12,000, I need to see the movement. And I can relate to that. I think this is a very charismatic Zenith. If I were starting a collection from scratch and weren't already connected and committed to JLC, comparing these two watches, I might pick the Zenith. It's a really impressive piece. Okay, so guys, Simon Holt joining us saying he's late again, his internet is flaking. I hope it's not me, but welcome Simon, and thanks for getting on board. Alejandro Diaz joining us from Colombia. Okay, Todd Piasecki, good evening. Let's move on. Stay online with me when the broadcast ends on Instagram, Tim_Mosso on Instagram. It's where I post my daily updates. It's also the easiest way to reach me directly in the comments next to the photo, because I always make sure that I respond to comments on the photo the day that I post the photo. Again, the easiest way to reach me daily, updated daily, and I like video. I think Instagram doesn't reach its potential without video, so don't expect a bunch of beauty shots taken in the Richard Mille boutique. This is going to be a little bit more interactive and a bit more dynamic. Okay, so Simon Holt is asking a question. This is a more interactive show, guys. That's the idea for just going solo today. Are the new JLC Polaris bracelets as good as they should be? Pins, not screws. Honestly, I think the time has come for JLC to change its sports watch bracelet, its general sports watch bracelet, from pins to screws. The push button double deploying, it's still 4 buttons, 2 deployants, and it still has the micro adjust on both sides, but this has been the bracelet since 1998. And I feel that the time has come for JLC to upgrade these bracelets to screws for adjustable links. I think pins and sleeves were fine for the 90s. They were borderline for the 2000s. They are outdated in this era. And that goes for Patek Philippe and the Nautilus as well. Question from Andrew. Tim, can you wear a 44mm Luminor? I have a 6.5-inch wrist considering the 42 Rad 574. First of all, that's a great watch, but yes, I can wear a Luminor 44. If you want to hedge your bets, get it in titanium. There are a couple of great options out there. Okay. Hachizenki, Tim, are you going to talk about the new Rolex announcement to their ADs? Not quite yet. I'm going to save that bullet for Brian to broach on his Wednesday show, but I do have some news about the Patek Nautilus tonight. Okay, viewer mail and questions. I love to show our user wrist shots. Alex R. sent me this photo of his JLC Master Compressor diving Navy SEALs automatic, and he posted it on the Jaeger LeCoultre forum on Watch Pro site. So I will throw up your wrist shot on Monday Mailbag, guys, if you send it to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com. 42mm stainless steel, a limited series of 1500. This watch came out in 2010, and it was said to be the one of all of the watches released that the SEALs themselves actually asked for. They found that the oversized civilian-style sports watches were too big, too prone to catching on obstructions, even in the stateside combat exercises where they humored JLC and tested some pieces. I doubt any of these were ever deployed, but it's important to note that in training, the test bed for this series, the SEALs actually asked for the 42 because the 44s and 45s were just too darn big. So I have to say, Alex, well chosen. This is the Navy SEALs that I would pick for myself. With a ceramic bezel insert, the old compressor crown system, and a 300-meter dive depth, this is one of the coolest dive watches JLC has released since the original Polaris, and on the full vulcanized rubber bracelet with sizing screws, I should mention, for individual adjustable links. This is the best of both worlds. A great watch and the upscale JLC bracelet that frankly all of their sports watches should include. Okay, remember that's Monday Mailbag at thewatchbox.com if you want to see your wrist shot on my show. Okay, coming through, Kiki Fry's asking, Tim, do you think the new Vacheron 56 wears as nice as the Patrimony as a dress watch? Opinions. I'm going to break with the opinion that has been voiced around the internet and say the 56 was a chance for Vacheron to go off the rails and make a huge mistake, and they didn't. These watches all look more expensive than they are. None of them embarrasses the brand. Vacheron has never been all Geneva Seal in its history, and it isn't now, and that's not a bad thing. Only one of the three is not on the Geneva Seal standard, and it still looks like it costs $5,000 to $6,000 US more than its $11,700 price point. The dials are rich, finely finished, and beautifully made. The cases, honestly, they don't evoke the vintage reference 6073 of 1956, but that's okay because they're handsome in their own right. And even that entry-level movement, built for Vacheron by Valfleurier, is still more beautiful than any movement in a watch of the same price point. I like the 56s. I would still consider the JLC Master Control line, especially the Ultra Thin Perpetual, if you're considering those, but they do a credit to the brand that made them. I think if you likes, buys. Okay. Now moving along, it's important to note that we've had some developments since Friday's This Week in Watches. We showed you the Panerai PAM 790, or what we think is the PAM 790. There is a mystery Panerai floating around that was shown at SIHH to a few select folks and hasn't been declared publicly. We have more photos tonight. Last Friday we talked about this Radiomir 1940 in 47mm in a white metal. We think it's called the 790 and the 791. Instagrammer and Panerai scholar Jose Perestroika, you can follow him on Instagram and visit his website, posted an image of a vintage Rolex pocket watch with its dial superimposed over the Radiomir 1940 case to show us where this design comes from historically. Whether or not it's authentically part of Panerai's history or Rolex history that Panerai just liked and appropriated, I can't say for sure. But that watch on the right is a mock-up, so Panerai, Rolex, please don't get angry at me. It's someone's demonstrator of a point, not a real watch. That said, our viewer ProStack from Athens, Greece, has SIHH photos of the new watch that are not mock-ups, and he's forwarded new and better images of the black dial, which we think is called the PAM 790, the black dial seen here in far better resolution and scale than we saw on Friday, with gorgeous, almost fleur-de-lis flourish-style spear hands in rose gold, and a cream dial version of the new Panerai. We have that as well, and you can really see it's a combination of a sort of bronze tone in the concentric circles of the dial scales and a gorgeous eggshell off-white with highly stylized Art Deco Arabic numerals. I like this a lot. Okay, you guys tell me in the chat what you think about this, because this is going to be controversial. This is not a purist's Panerai. Even if it's a simple Panerai, this is not one for the guys who prefer the Basse model. This is for those who maybe would have bought a different brand if it weren't for this watch. Okay, wrist shots from friends. Remember guys, Monday Mailbag at thewatchbox.com if you've got a wrist shot or an embargoed watch to share with me. Okay, now, Patek pricing pressure pitfalls. It came out within the last couple of days that there will be an increase in prices for the Patek Philippe Nautilus. And we have a question from our viewer, Damien L., who is asking me, Tim, I write to you because I'm nervous about the value of the Patek Philippe Nautilus 5711 1A. I have been on the waiting list for a Nautilus for close to a year, which I understand is not bad, given some people are waiting years, plural, at this point. Here's my concern, Damien tells us. I was expecting the steel Nautilus for 21,900 Swiss francs minus VAT. That's about 21,900 US dollars at the moment, which was perfect for me as a great Patek to begin my journey with the brand. Problem, this morning my dealer in Bern called and tells me that Patek Philippe was increasing the price of this watch by 20%. Same watch, same movement, same everything. I heard this was just for the American market, but it appears global. Is this true? Yes, I can confirm that the US price of this watch is increasing from roughly $24,800 to $30,000, and it's effective on March 1st. That said, the same watch, as Damien has been told, will now be 26,280 Swiss francs. It will actually be more than that in US dollars. He says the increase does not seem like a lot for the world of Patek, but he wants to get my thoughts on whether the price is realistic and whether at this point, given the weight and the price hike, he should start looking elsewhere. Okay, he says he doesn't own a Patek and the Nautilus was going to be an entry-level Patek for him. Now he's not sure. First, let me remind you, the Neptune with the salmon dial in steel is my beat the drum, get on the bandwagon before the bandwagon exists, collectible steel Patek Philippe. Great way to get into the brand. Everything you expect in Patek with steel on a bracelet and a sporting sensibility for less than half of what this Nautilus is going to cost in a couple of weeks. Okay, I got comments coming in from the chat. Folks mentioning, Marco is saying 20% WTF. Pretty much. Watch Yoda. Ouch. Eddie Landsberg, no problem. I love you, Eddie. So the bottom line here is the value equation for an entry-level steel Patek is changing, and John Sai is not happy about this. John, I see your comments. Give me more details, preferably in language I can repeat. I want to share your opinions here. Okay, so let's talk about this problem. Yes, $24,800 to $30,000 for the steel Nautilus. This is happening on March 1st. You have options though, Damien. I want to emphasize that you've got options starting with Patek's own Aquanaut 5167 1A. This is a watch that's been around since 2007, very few changes since, which is to say it's a well-proven product that defies planned obsolescence. Now, what are you getting here? For about $22,000, you can get this watch pre-owned. Right now, the Nautilus is trading over $30,000, $34,000, $35,000 in steel pre-owned. Here's one you can buy for 22 grand on the bracelet if you want your full bracelet Patek sports watch. What does it give you? It gives you the same ergonomics at almost exactly the same size, 40-41. It gives you the same brand and standards of fit and finish. It gives you the same water resistance at 120 meters. It gives you the same caliber 24 or 324 automatic in a very slightly different watch with the exact same brand pedigree. Buy the current Aquanaut on a bracelet for budget-friendly Nautilus alternative that you can own from a pre-owned dealer right now without a wait, or get it on a strap. Or on a strap, you get the option of buying this watch for about $2,000 less pre-owned when you buy it on the segmented composite strap, and it looks fantastic, and it feels great. This is available immediately from many pre-owned dealers. Get it on a bracelet or a strap, save the money, wear your watch now. All of that said, you do have to consider other brands at this point because the Nautilus is part of a class of sports watches, some of them designed by the very same Gerald Genta who penned the Nautilus, which brings me to the inevitable and perhaps natural alternative, which is the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. In this case, we're going with the current automatic model, the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak 15400 ST. Now, it's been out since 2012, which is to say all the bugs are out, but so too are the pre-owned options, meaning some of these have been bought, they've passed to the secondary market. You have your option of black dial, silver dial, blue dial. Again, all available immediately with no wait from pre-owned dealers. Now, it retails at $17,800. So even if you pay list, even if you wait, and there is a small wait for this new, you're getting off for a whole lot less than that Patek, either of the Pateks really, Aquanaut or Nautilus. Even better, to own this one pre-owned, as strong as steel Audemars Piguet is right now, you're going to pay pre-owned either the list price or maybe about $1,000 above list of $17,800. So you're going to get in immediately for a lot less money. Now, this watch does not have the same degree of water resistance as the Patek, but it does have a screw-down crown, which is to say it's more water resistant than the 39mm Jumbo, which technically is also 50 meters. This is a stiff 50 meters that you can swim with. Now, I'll also say this. I feel far more comfortable recommending this Royal Oak for about $18,000 to $19,000 pre-owned than trying to convince you to pay $11,000 more for a new Nautilus or $20,000 more to get that same Nautilus pre-owned right now. The AP 15400 Royal Oak in 41mm in steel offers a more accomplished movement with a full balance bridge, the same Gyromax free-sprung architecture. It has a smoother winding system that's bidirectional, not the somewhat rattly unidirectional system used by Patek, and with 55 to 60 hours of power reserve, you've got a heck of a lot more power reserve than the 35 to 45 of the Patek. I do think this is the better option, and you get the more accomplished movement with a higher quality bracelet. We were talking about pins and sleeves. This one is both more beautifully finished than the Nautilus, in my first-hand knowledgeable opinion. It's also sized with screws, which everything in this price point, everything at half this price point should be. So you're getting a lot of watch, in my opinion, maybe even more watch, for less money and no wait. I would go with this option. That said, do consider the sports watch that you can get for $30,000 if you want Patek levels of fit, finish, and pedigree from a Geneva-based watch manufacturer. We've now seen 2 years of the third-generation in-house caliber Vacheron Constantin overseas, which is to say for the same price of that $30,000 new imminently $30,000 5711, you could have the Vacheron Constantin Overseas World Time 7700 reference on a full bracelet with the quick release system and a steamer trunk worth of extra accessories, including a leather strap and a rubber strap and a travel case and a travel pouch. And you get the Geneva seal on an in-house caliber, and you get all of this in a watch with more water resistance and anti-magnetism than the Patek. And the bracelet is far better than what Patek is shipping, plus you get straps included as part of the purchase price. And you'll get all of this pre-owned for just under $30,000. Negotiate well, you probably get it for $28,000, $27.5. This is the watch I would buy if I didn't go with the AP. All of which assumes you don't just take my advice and buy a salmon dial steel Patek Philippe Neptune. Still available, guys. Okay, questions and comments coming in on this topic. Vertical Mind, I'd go AP Royal Oak instead. Craig Derrick is saying for 25 to 30 grand, get yourself an A Lange und Söhne 1815. This is good advice. If you're all about the finish, you're okay with a older style, that is to say a watch that is more dress-oriented, vintage-inspired than the progressive sports watches we're discussing, yes, you cannot question the 1815 as an alternative. And for $30,000, Lange resale being relatively soft, it's a buyer's market. JBO Surf saying so many options. Joe S saying they'll still sell just as many despite the Patek price increase and have fewer people wanting to buy it. That is to say, they'll make more money, more profit, and even if the waiting list shrinks, there's still going to be a waiting list. Also, I can see Vertical Mind saying he would go with the AP Royal Oak instead, and I really kind of think that says it all. You're getting more watch for the money and a lot less money at that. Also, a Rich Buddy is saying, Tim, I'm in California and put a deposit on an Aquanaut at the Patek Salon. Do you think it will increase on me? Very possible. Right now, I'm only hearing about a price hike for the Nautilus. I do think that you should be able to pick up the Aquanaut for now at whatever they're promising you. I do think you should try to get them to lock in a price. If your dealer is, intent on maintaining a strong relationship with you, the customer, I would try to get them to lock in a price. And I can see Todd Piasecki saying, the Nautilus price is outrageous right now. And John Sai is saying, get the Vacheron instead, much better value. John, I agree with you. You're getting a lot more watch, you're getting a lot more movement, you're getting a lot more capability, and the accessories are part of the fun. Throw it on a rubber, remove the bracelet with your thumbnail. That's the new Overseas. That would be my pick of the trio we discussed. Okay. Now moving on, I can see that Joe S. saying the pre-owned market already shows people are willing to spend 20% over retail for the 5711. Not only is this true, but that's rather tame. At this point, with the base price of the watch stepping up to $30,000, I hazard to think what the pre-owned price is going to look like 6 months from now once that takes effect globally. Okay, and then I find we've got comments. Anastase is saying, welcome from Brazil. What do you think about the JLC Master Memovox International? That was a fun limited edition piece. I want to say they made 750 pieces around 2010. Cool watch, better than the silver dial, memorable, rare, and fun. The ultimate travel complication just got better with the World Time Extra. It's not a true world timer, but in a pinch, it could suffice. I really like that watch. 40 millimeters in steel, alarm, and black dial. Okay, moving on, we've got more questions coming in from viewers. Beauty of Scent is mentioning to me that the link on today's Tudor review is not working. I will ask my folks to fix it tonight. I didn't miss you. Okay. And then I see some more comments coming through to the effect that Peter B is saying, you could probably find a Blancpain Le Mans Tourbillon at the markup price of the 5711 1A on the secondary market. Yeah, you could. And you could probably buy 3 or 4 Blancpain 50 Fathoms for what the 5711 1A is going to go for on the secondary market in about 3 months. Which one would I pick? I would pick the reference 5015 5-day power reserve, anti-magnetic, gorgeous, so much that it hurts, 50 Fathoms. That's my super luxury sports watch, and that would be my easy choice over anything we've mentioned tonight. Okay, now moving down the list. Russell996 is asking, Tim, thoughts on the 666? Russell996, is that a Porsche reference? Okay, this is what I think about the triple split. For about 135,000, I want to say it's like 135,000 to 145,000 US dollars, it's not notably more expensive than the double split. It's not much bigger or thicker than the double split, and it's just as wearable. I think this is a fantastic point of reference in the chronograph market. I think every other brand has been put on notice. Patek Philippe still owns chiming watches. Audemars Piguet, thanks to Renaud et Papy, still owns the ultra haute de gamme complications, as well as a zaniness streak that is otherwise lacking in high horology. But now, with the 1850 chronograph, the 1815, the Datograph Perpetual, the 1815 Rattrapant Perpetual, the Handwerkskunst version of that, the double split and the triple split, Lange is now the chronograph specialist par excellence in the high horology realm. Swiss or otherwise, they have set the standard for everyone, and not just with the triple split. The triple split is the coronation of a monarchy, a dynasty really, that was already long in the making, dating back to the first datograph in 1999. Lange, you are now commanding that space. And if you're thinking of getting a triple split, anyone out there, let me tell you, I've seen it, I've held it, I've used it, and I've worn it. You will not be disappointed, even if you have to wait. If ever a watch were worth waiting, and I'm not talking about some simple steel sports watch, it would be this new Lange. I hope it's part of a Lange resurrection that sees the brand really rebound in terms of resale, brand esteem, and collector interest. We're thinking of picking up Lange here at Golfberg. I want to be a part of establishing that brand here at our company. So triple split, I love you. Okay. Now, moving down to questions coming through, I see Ahmad Raza is asking me my opinion on homage watches. I have a pointed opinion on homage watches, and I don't necessarily like them. I think there are a few cases where they are so rich and worthy that they're almost a house specialty. The Omega Museum watches from 2001 to 2010, special, sensitive, sensational, and rare. That was well done. A tribute to Omega's real history. A series that started and ended without endless iteration. Vacheron Constantin from about 1993, Les Historiques, so special. Tribute models that nevertheless had soul, individuality, so rich and finely executed that in almost every case they surpassed the originals, and they exist without reflected glory. JLC, the Reverso Rouge, need I say more? But from other companies, I think it's time for Tudor to stop riding the Black Bay wave. We now have everything from a bronze Black Bay to what they call the Baytona in the Black Bay chronograph. I think there's more than enough iteration. It's time to start innovating. Create the classic watches that people will be buying at vintage auctions in the year 2048, 2058, 2068. We can't dwell on the history of the 50s and the 60s and the 70s forever. And it's better to try something new and take a risk than it is to work in the realm of reflected glory, safe nostalgia plays, and watches that really are nothing more than surrogates for the timepiece, the vintage timepiece you would have rather bought. And I think it's time for the likes of Oris and Longines and Tudor to start moving on and looking at something new. I actually think that crazy PAM 790 Panerai is a good example of an homage watch because it's not a literal recreation of anything, it's a what-if watch. And as crazy as it is, it actually moves away from the brand's wheelhouse in terms of style. That's a risky watch. JLC, the Polaris line will sell like gangbusters, and I realize you got to keep the lights on. For the second half of 2018 and moving forward, I want to see stuff like the old Master Compressors. Those watches took a risk, and yes, those are future collectibles. Okay, so now Sebastian Palacio is saying, hey Tim, great to learn something new on watches. Anytime I can help, and this is an interactive show, I want to know. So I'm still taking your questions even as I'm hitting my talking points tonight. Tim, from JPG, how iconic is the Zeitwerk? I'm close to pulling the trigger, but concerned about the value with longest appreciation. First of all, the Zeitwerk came out in 2009, and it forced us to reconsider what Lange could be. 10 years after the Datograph, it was just as challenging, adventurous, and I would say eye-opening with respect to Lange's capabilities as that original datograph. If you're to own 3 Langes in your lifetime, Lange 1 for the purists, 1999 Gen 1 datograph, and the Zeitwerk. Also, remember that because it's been out since 2009, buy it pre-owned. If you're thinking of buying new, I have to be honest with you, pre-owned is the way to buy. You'll buy it and the cost of ownership will be nothing more than the cost of sending it in for service every 4 years. That's reasonable, and that's pretty decent compared to what you'll pay to maintain, insure, service, and fuel a high-performance automobile. This is actually a fairly affordable habit if you budget, $300, $400 a year towards that service. It's a fantastic watch. It's everyday wearable. At 42, I can wear it on my tiny wrist, and it was a landmark, not just for Lange, but for the industry. We'll talk about the Zeitwerk as a milestone watch and an industry shaker 20, 30 years on. It will be remembered the way we remember the Nautilus and the Royal Oak. Buy with confidence, but if you're worried about depreciation, buy pre-owned. After a certain point, the watch is not going to drop any more, and I can safely say that a 6-7-year-old Zeitwerk has already depreciated and bottomed out. Okay. Peter B. mentioning the Zeitwerk barrel spring could take your eye out. Yes, it can, and one of the great pleasures in high horology, and you must experience it, is to wind a Zeitwerk. It's like cranking a Model T Ford. There's so much resistance in that mainspring. Keeping that thing running for its 36-hour reserve takes enough power to crank half the cars in LA. It's impressive. As satisfying from a tactile standpoint as the finest column wheel chronograph. All right, now live viewer questions. We got a regular viewer, Michael V, longtime friend of the brand and customer of Golfberg and Watchbox, and he's wrestling with a métier d'art purchase decision. Now, the Vacheron Constantin Mécanique Gravée collection debuted in 2015. So this is a watch in its simplest version. There is a tourbillon, but we're going with time only here. Michael is looking hard at the simple reference 1100A/000P, 39 millimeters in platinum. This is a watch with the in-house caliber 4400 manual wind 65-hour power reserve with banknote scrolling engraved freehand on both sides and then inked to add the color. This is a watch that also features the Geneva seal plus the freehand engraving. So you double up on your craft arts here. Now, he's saying that this is a watch that no basically Instagram superstar, no watch-a-niche type, no poser is going to recognize from across the room. It's simple watchmaking, so it'll be serviceable forever by anyone. At 39 millimeters, it's a versatile size that you can wear with anything. It can be sporty, it can be formal. It's also slim in profile. Now, it's a watch that has enduring value in that it's not oversized, it's not bombastic, it doesn't feature red line features for men's watch like gem setting. This is something that you could legitimately wear for a lifetime in every scenario except swimming, and I agree with him. Plus, it retails for $87,500. Here's where I have to step in and, as the advisor, remind you, you're going to be looking at a highly specialized watch with limited appeal that's likely to suffer 30 to 40% depreciation to the point that you're going to sell this watch for tens of thousands of dollars less than you paid if you decide to part with it. I would say this is where you have to consider alternatives. And I do believe pre-owned offers great value here. If you can find one of these pre-owned for $60,000, buy with confidence. You're not going to lose. But if you're thinking about buying it new for $87,500, consider a Patek Philippe 5131. Now, the 5131 is the 5130 with cloisonné enamel dial. Gold cordons applied to a dial that is made of gold itself, and then over a series of firings, those cordons are used to create shapes, and they're filled with different colors and different shades of enamel. This is a spectacular piece. You will pay $30,000 more to get this pre-owned than you'll pay for the Mécanique Gravée from Vacheron new, but consider this, depreciation has taken its effect, and whereas you may lose $30,000 if you buy the Mécanique Gravée for $87,000, you can buy this for $30,000 more than the VC new and lose nothing. Again, depreciation has taken its effect. You'll also appreciate the convenience and the beauty of Patek's micro rotor caliber 240 automatic movement, which is sensational. It gives you the full open view of the caliber of a manual with the convenience of an automatic. Plus you get the slimness of a manual. And each one of these 5131s with a cloisonné enamel dial starts life as an application piece from Patek Philippe that you must apply to receive and then be approved. And this adds to the pre-owned aura and allure that the watch maintains. That's why it's such a strong sale when the time comes for you to part with the watch, should you choose. And finally, I have to say you can go beyond all of our comfort level to the realm of true micro-horology. Slovakian métier d'art specialists Michael Molnar and Igor Fabry, Molnar Fabry of Slovakia, are virtuosos in this class of timepiece. Now you're looking right there at the Classic Gentleman model that they make, which is freehand engraved in the same banknote scroll style, inked and detailed to a much finer degree than the Vacheron. The detailing here is much more intricate. And I'm going to say this is optional gem setting that I highly recommend you choose. This is outstanding. This is gem setting inside the watch in a fashion that I find to be the smartest, most artisanally exquisite, and most masculine that you'll encounter on any men's timepiece. And for roughly $45,000 US, this is a watch that offers you custom options, 42 millimeters, impressive, simple, and showing just how far you can take a Unitas 6497 movement. This would actually be my choice of the three, and the least costly to get into from a purchase standpoint. Plus you have a one-on-one relationship with your watchmaker. You know these guys. You're going to know their names. You're going to go to dinner at their house. This is high horology, micro horology, independent horology, and the start of a friendship. And all of those things bring us in, suck us in, and keep us in this hobby. Okay, Rich Buddy is asking, what's that run? About 45,000 US dollars. Okay, so Russell 996 advising, Tim, there is no depreciation on a 5131. They have all doubled. This is important to remember. If you buy a pre-owned 5131, there will be no depreciation. If anything, they're going to gain a little bit. True Lie asking, anyone in Canada ever make a purchase from Govberg or Watchbox? I'd love to support the business, but I want to make sure I do my homework first. The best thing you can do, True Lie, is to call one of our sales associates who will actually give you the names of our previous Canadian customers who have volunteered to act as our references, real names and phone numbers, and then you can call them and ask them about their experience. And that's the best way to do your homework on us. Ask the guy who bought from us before across the northern border, your southern border. Okay, so comments coming through, and I think it's important to close with a discussion of mechanical specification from Alexander P., who asks, Tim, I'm wondering about strengths and weaknesses of full versus half balance bridges. Is a full balance bridge unequivocally more durable than half? So when you've got your balance held by a single-sided cock, that's less stable than when the balance is held by a dual anchored balance bridge. A screw here, a screw here. We're talking about screws and cocks. This is not good. But you're going to get more support on your balance when it's anchored on both sides on a full bridge. So here's the thing. Yes, yes. He's saying it seems that they're more durable, but then there are some movements like Moser that are full bridges but don't seem rugged like sports watch movements. So here's my answer. Yes, the full bridge makes a huge difference, and it can serve two purposes. And we're going to look at some examples and clarify this. Purpose one, ruggedness, straight out durability. Okay, imagine you're on subway cars. We've all been there, holding onto a pole with one hand. Now Godzilla attacks, tosses you every which way, and you need two hands to hold yourself secure. You know those strap hangers who are hanging on by one hand are going to be flopping all over the place. The second hand makes a big difference, and you can feel this in real life. Now, it's also important on the micro scale because when you consider the huge saving grace that shock protection springs create, you cannot see these moving. You're talking about displacement that's measured in fractions of a millimeter, and yet these small cushioning elements that move imperceptibly provide dramatic relief to the staffs of the balance that prevent both timing deviation and damage. No perceptible movement makes a huge difference. Now on the Richard Mille RM5301, the same infinitesimal relieving motions are provided to the suspended caliber, as you can see, by tensioned pulleys and wires. Again, you cannot see them moving. Small movements for better and worse, and they can really help or hurt your movement, but they make a huge difference. Now, consider what small motions can do to save your movement. Consider what they can do to damage the movement or cause timing deviation. It cuts both ways. So now consider Rolex. Caliber 3035, it came out in the late 1970s. You see that screw? One-sided. The balance doesn't have as much support as it has on the current caliber 3235. There, you can see on the caliber 3235 that there's an anchor on both sides for twice the stability. It makes a difference for timing in the face of shocks, and it makes a difference for avoidance of damage. Okay, Jaeger LeCoultre, they used to make the famed ultra-thin caliber 889. Caliber 889, as IWC found out in sports watches during the 90s, was a bad match for high-impact activities. You see the one screw bracing the balance. It's not enough. So for the caliber 975 auto tractor, created in 2002, JLC designed using the lessons from IWC's use of their 889, this one with a full dual-anchored balance bridge, and it continues into today's geophysic caliber 770 and 772, the true seconds. These feature dual-anchored balance bridges, and they're free-sprung for good measure. Okay, finally, Panerai, sports watches. They are proclaiming, and have been since last year, that the P9000 automatic, which came out in 2009, single-sided, you see the one screw holding the balance. In 2017, it became the P9010. Dual-anchored balance bridge, and they love to tout this because it is tougher, objectively. Okay, purpose 2. Why would you have a full dual bridge? Because a lot of times on ultra-thin movements, this is purpose 2, movement stiffness and ultra-thin engineering. With a full balance bridge, you can add stiffness to the movement to prevent the bridges and plates from moving around and possibly popping the teeth out of alignment with respect to the wheels. So consider this. It strengthens the movement when you add a full bridge. Look at the Bulgari Octofinissimo automatic, ultra-thin, 5.15 millimeters thick, a record setter in 2017. Its caliber BVL 135 micro rotor features a full balance bridge. That's not there to make it shock resistant, although it helps a little bit. That's there because the movement, once clamped with the case screws, could actually move around a little bit, twist and torque. So adding the balance bridge makes it tougher. And you'll see the same strategy employed in the Piaget Altiplano skeleton with full balance bridge. That's the caliber 1200S. S is for skeleton. Anchored on both sides to stabilize the movement and prevent it from deforming when you strap this tightly to your wrist. So that's the second purpose of a balance bridge, to add internal security to the structure of the movement. Okay, so now Peter B is asking, how does Zenith get away with just a balance cock at 36,000 vibrations per hour? The reason is that the beat rate doesn't really have much of an impact. I mean, it's not influenced on the balance cock. The balance cock is for stability in the face of shocks and preservation of timing stability in the face of shocks. So avoid damage and provide greater accuracy. The Zenith achieves that with a higher beat rate, but it doesn't have extra security. A full balance bridge would be necessary to make the El Primero both very accurate and even tougher than it is. You can still have a 2824 or a 2892 or a Zenith El Primero caliber 400 that's very tough with a single-sided balance cock, but they're giving up stability, stiffness, and shock resistance by keeping it that way, using that old architecture. It should be dual anchored. Okay. Guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We had a gangbusters discussion tonight. And here's a great question from Rich Buddy, and we're going to end on this because this is an interactive mailbag show. Tim, if you don't have to dress up much, hardly ever, get an inexpensive dress watch, but a good brand like Zenith, $3,000 to $5,000, what would I buy for that money? Honestly, for $3,000 to $5,000, I would either buy the watch that I did buy in that price range, which is my handmade and hand-finished 34mm black dial stainless steel JLC Master Ultra Thin 34, the best dress watch you can buy for under $4 grand. And yes, high horology, hand-assembled and hand-finished with a display case back, or I would consider getting something like a Zenith Elite 40mm Reserve de Marche. It is a beautiful watch. Get it in steel with a black dial, and you've got something that looks maybe 4 times as expensive as it is. Also, don't discount the possibility of getting something, if you don't dress up much, like a old Zenith El Primero Rainbow Flyback. 40mm on a bracelet means you can wear that anywhere you can wear a Rolex, in a tuxedo, formal occasions, out to a dinner or the opera, but it's still a classic sports watch with a lot of appreciation upside. 40mm, so you can wear it with anything. It's not a bombastic watch, and you've got a bulletproof movement, plenty of appreciation potential, one of the last mechanical watches made to suit a military contract from a great brand that can service it forever for under $5 grand. I can't think of a better watch on which to conclude this episode. Guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I want to give a shout out to some of our last. First, you're not my favorite, and last, you're not last in my heart. I love you all equally. Alexi, thanks for joining us from Finland. Joe S., I want to thank Hellfire Club 1000, a great Marvel Comics reference. Peter B., JBO Surf, Paul Velieu, Hachi Zenki. Guys, thank you so much. Josh Polanski, JPG, you're the last to get the shout out. Thank you so much. We're back tomorrow with Claudio at 6 on this channel, and then at 6:30, I'll be back with Watches Live on Watchbox Reviews. Until then, I'm Tim, this is Watchbox, and thanks for logging on.